Such a good soundtrack. I have it stuck in my head just thinking about it. Alrighty. And we are live according to YouTube. Just
Hopefully.
making sure chat's all good. Yeah, and also just as a heads up, as we're streaming this, if you didn't see it live, apparently YouTube has been acting weird today. So this will be a VOD, probably Christmas week if you're seeing it, but welcome. We're going to talk about Spider-Man-Into the Spiderverse.
Yeah.
This is a spoiler video. Mine's a spoiler tag. So if you have not seen Spider-Verse, what are you doing?
Right now.
Please go see it. This video will be here when you get back. And yeah, so where do we want to begin with Spider-Verse?
Let's just start off that the movie is so good that we felt like we needed to make a spoiler talk about it. So
Yes,
that says something within itself.
I
We haven't
rarely
done that.
do.
We haven't done that since Infinity War. So that shows you on what scale we're talking at here. So
Yeah, and I guess just kind of starting at the beginning, I love the comic book aesthetic, but also how they added that into the script with the alright, one last time. And it
Like,
runs you set
through the comic book.
through
and
the
stuff.
character in a way that Suicide Squad only dreamt to be able to do.
Definitely.
Like, that was really what they intended, but this movie did it in such a great way. I saw the movie on a Saturday. No, I saw it on Saturday. Then literally the following day, that Sunday, I saw it a second time.
Yeah.
I was blown away. So, what aspect, should we just...
Let's talk about the animation first.
Yeah, the visuals and that animation was incredible.
I guess, and then partially with that, we also have to talk about the soundtrack, like, kind of intertwined with it, because the soundtrack went so well with the visuals.
Yes, and just... the style is so unique and beautiful at the same time. I can't believe no one's tried that before.
Yes, it worked
Well, now
so
they're gonna.
well.
Yeah, so as an animation guy, can you break down the visuals of the film?
I just love how much homage it pays to the actual comics it's based off of.
Mhm.
Literally, it's basically seeing a comic come to life.
Yeah.
I love how when they actually fight, the little sort of crack pow sort of shows up.
Oh,
Even
with the sound
flips.
effects,
Yeah.
like onomatopoeia, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and the first time I noticed that was with Green Goblin. When he threw his grenades, wherever they landed, it had that kind of boom. When he's falling, though, was awesome. And one thing that it took me a second to get used to, the RGB to help determine what's in focus versus out of focus. It caught me off guard at first, and I still think it's a little weird, but it's not even a complaint.
No.
It's just a style choice. As soon as I adapted to it, I was like, oh, okay, my eyes are good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the first rack focus, though, was a little bit janky for me, but after that, I was fine.
Yeah. The story.
Yeah, all of the characters. Miles.
Miles.
A lot of people that I've kind of talked about the movie with said that Miles was handled in this better than any adaptation before.
I mean,
I'd say even better than the comics.
There's two things that people were upset with that I don't see as really a complaint. They were upset that when he spoke Spanish, that there wasn't subtitles.
I don't see how that's a problem.
Why do you need it? What do you need to know the exact words? You know
No,
what
you
he's
just
saying.
you just know that he's speaking Spanish and that he has a Hispanic side to him.
Plus,
Yeah,
you
and-
can kind of get what he's saying from context.
Exactly, that's my point. Like,
And he'll say something in Spanish and they'll answer in English or
yeah, or
and-
like, are you really that confused about like, did he order an Uber or did he say I love you? I don't.
and some people were upset that he never tied his shoes.
It's the character thing.
I
Who
know.
cares?
There was people who were upset about that.
One
but-
of the complaints I've heard, which is kind of valid, but I didn't think was a problem because Miles was the focus. The later three Spider-Verse characters, you got Spider-Ham, Noir, and Penny, were kind of underutilized.
Yeah, they were
They
more
were,
just sort of
but-
side piece.
I think if they were more utilized, it would have taken away from Miles, which I prefer the focus on Miles.
Yeah.
Miles was the hero. And
Absolutely.
so it needed the focus. And, like, basically by adding them, it's just adding more people that he saved.
Yeah, and it's building to that whole Spider-Verse idea.
Exactly.
It could have been handled without those three characters, but the message of anyone can be Spider-Man is shown
there.
so much better by having them at least just exist, knowing
Yeah.
their presence.
Exactly. So I don't mind them being there.
But with that said, Nicolas Cage and John Mulaney, holy shit.
They did a great job.
John Mulaney, like, I had to look it up afterwards, but as soon as I realized that he was Spider-Ham, I was like, well, that's the most perfect casting ever. And Nicolas Cage, this is like his comic book role that he just nailed.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know. I thought the casting was just brilliant in general.
Oh, definitely.
But
Each of the Spider people were definitely well stylized, especially the Penny, Peter Porker, and Noir. Them especially.
yeah, and again, the fact that they made in a cartoon movie Spider-Ham feel like a cartoon in the cartoon was awesome.
Oh, definitely.
It's like they made him extra cartoony to make him stand out, and also
Did that feel like a cartoon?
That's all, folks.
and then the repetitive like origin stories. I love that so much.
Same.
Because it was so rewarding at the end. I, even the second time, almost teared up when Miles said, Alright, let's do this one last time. It was such a good feeling.
And they didn't focus on his, like, granted, the whole thing was his origin story, but, like, his whole, him getting bit by a spider thing wasn't too big of a focus.
It's what Homecoming also tried to do. The origin isn't him getting bit, it's him going from, like, a spider boy, a guy with powers, to Spider-Man.
It's basically, like, him being Miles Morales and then getting bit by a spider.
Mm-hmm.
It's not him being destined to be bit by the spider.
Yeah, no. It's that idea anyone could be Spider-Man, which I thought no movie has done better than this.
Exactly.
Even close. Because before, it's always that Peter Parker Spider-Man. Peter Parker Spider-Man. This is showing Spider-Man isn't a person, it's the idea. It's the way that you act. It's applying that with great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly.
And then I love the ending when he places a sticker on that statue. that was just a nice touch.
Yeah, and like...
Then the Stan Lee tributes.
Yeah, and Peter B. Parker was such a great character, and I feel bad that now when I first watched the trailer, I was like, this isn't Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man after being Spider-Man for 20, 30 years.
And when he first meets Miles, too, he gets like... He's like, I don't want nothing to do with you, kid. And then he starts... You see the transition from that. He's like, alright, I guess I'll be your teacher. Then he's like, alright, I'm gonna fail you. I can't deal with this anymore. Then Miles kind of does some stuff on his own. And then he's like, I did it. I taught you. But it's like...
And I like the idea that it's him learning to be Spider-Man again.
Yeah, like, Peter was like, well... you just have to take the faith, or the jump of faith, the leap of faith, and Miles knew what he needed to do.
Yeah, because when the movie started, Peter B. Parker, he wasn't Spider-Man. He was Peter Parker in a Spider-Man suit. Exactly. But by the end, he's Spider-Man again.
And I mean, he was like surprised to see what Miles had done.
And I'm glad that in a kids movie. There's a lot of things they had the balls to do that I wouldn't expect from a kid's movie.
Yeah.
But the idea of just kind of... That final fight, he wanted to die.
Yeah.
He full on said there was no reason to sacrifice himself, but he still said, no, I'm going to sacrifice myself. Not because he wanted to be brave, because he'd rather die in this dimension than go back and have
try
to
and deal
give
with
it another try and deal with, you know, his mistakes. Deal with the consequences.
Exactly.
And like... Again, they had the balls to do that. They had the balls. Prowler is an awesome character.
I have to say, he was the most threatening villain in that movie.
Yeah, he was. And it's like, the scene when Miles is in his apartment and the Prowler comes back is legitimately tense.
Yeah.
Like the scene when he's hiding behind the TV.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much tension built up there.
Yeah, and just... That was great.
Well, and like when he sees that it's his uncle.
Mm-hmm.
His reaction to that is just...
Which, yeah, is something that most comic book fans who knew who Miles was also knew the Prowler was his uncle. The way they handled it, though, I knew, I was like, the consequences and the impact, it now feels heavier.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so he was with his uncle when he got bit and he turned into Spider-Man. And then now he's fighting him. Like, it's kind of like that turn of events.
It's another thing the other Spider-Man movies have tried to do. You know, Harry's dad is the Green Goblin.
What?
My girlfriend's dad is the Vulture. But this, the personal family
My doctor
connection.
is an octopus?
The fact it wasn't so much his friend's parents, it was his friend, his family member, who was this person. It just added so much. Kind of that just level of trust, and also the dynamic between the relationship Miles had with his father versus the relationship he had with his uncle was also an interesting
Can we just
dynamic.
appreciate the ending?
Yes. As in the ending overall or the post-credit scene?
Both.
Because the
ending
post-credit
overall,
scene
but the ending overall too
was awesome.
That scene, like, with the him on the phone with his father, and then, like, that scene was just.
Well, and then rewarding to see Kingpin. The fact that Spider-Man finally took down the Kingpin, but it wasn't Peter Parker.
It wasn't Peter Parker.
It was Miles who was able to do it.
Yeah, but his dad didn't know.
Yeah, but that felt rewarding. And then the post-credit scene of, but you're pointing at me. Oh, but your point is deliberate. But you're pointing.
Now, that actually makes me think, are they actually going to go with, like, a full-blown Spider-Verse story for the next one? Or are they just going to tone it down a bit?
So my guess is the sequel, because they've already announced they're getting the sequel for Spider-Verse.
Obviously.
And a spin-off with the kind of Spider-Women thing.
Right.
So Haley Steinfeld, Spider-Gwen leading it. Maybe Penny Parker will be back. I'm assuming Silk will be a character.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of all the kind of female-led Spider-Man movie, which, again, Haley Steinfeld killed it, and I love the character of Gwen. Like, the first time I've ever been able to say that, really. Amazing Spider-Man, I was like, yeah, she's fine. Amazing
Also,
Spider-Man 2, she was pointless. In this movie, she served a purpose, and I felt a connection to her.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Exactly.
I am fully on board with a female-led Spider-Man movie, but the sequel, my guess, is it's going to be kind of a 2099 introduction. So we're definitely going to get Miles back. We're definitely going to get Haley Steinfeld's Gwen back. Maybe some kind of Peter Parker. I'd like to see Peter B, but there's so many Peter Parkers I could see them going with another one.
Yeah.
Maybe Noir, maybe Spider-Ham, but I think they want to keep the same number and just swap different ones out. And this time, now that Miles is an established Peter Parker, 2099 will kind of present like, hey, in my timeline, there's this threat and I need multiple Spider-Men for help, is my guess. But I was going to say something, I forgot what it was. Oh yeah, so one of the things I apparently heard, because it was the writers of the Lego movie,
Right.
which explains the humor, because the humor was awesome. But with that, apparently one of the things that Marvel told them no was that they were going to have scenes, I assume in the same tone as that post-credit scene, where you see on screen Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and Tom Holland's Spider-Man interacting together.
Yeah, I could see why they could say it no.
Yeah.
So it looks like that's something they may try and do in a sequel, but how funny would that be?
Actually, originally, Tobey Maguire was supposed to be Peter B. Parker.
Mm-hmm. That was another thing I heard, yeah.
Can we also appreciate all the rooms with Miles' roommate?
That was awesome. I'm curious to see what that would be in a sequel, if they bring him back and do more with him, or if they just like, he was a throwaway.
He existed. He knows who Spider-Man is.
I mean, granted, I think he is a throwaway, but it doesn't hurt it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, I mean, they had to have someone.
Yeah. And another detail, this is a really specific thing that I loved and I noticed the second time I watched it, was that Miles, early on in the film, when he's walking to school, he's seeing all the kids he recognizes, like, hey, what's up? And he's having this really fun banter. Then as soon as he gets to the new school, he tries that and they're like, dork and dweeb and all that stuff. But then at the end, when he's in the Spider-Man costume, he has the interaction with the New Yorkers, where they're like, hey, Spider-Man! And he's having that same banter as Spider-Man, which really, to me, speaks about Miles being Miles.
Like, he's himself, but he's also Spider-Man.
He's found his identity as Spider-Man in that last moment.
Exactly.
And it's the whole thing in that school with the sticking outside the wall, grabbing the pigeons. It's a brilliant scene.
Definitely.
But
and then the grabbing of the hair.
Yeah. Which, it was another thing with the trailer. I was like, well, that's an interesting hairstyle for Gwen. It matters to the story, and I love that.
Yeah,
it wasn't just a throwaway choice.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was done on purpose,
But any other things we want to gush about before we go into other things with Spider-Verse? So I meant one thing that I noticed in podcasts was the villains. It was kind of talked about. Can we talk about that a little bit? Which Marco, can you lead?
Look, I'm not saying Kingpin was a bad villain. Okay, he was portrayed very threateningly.
Mm.
I enjoyed that. His plan is complete shit, though. Because I like how in the movie they put this at attention where the Spider People can't stay in this universe or else they won't feel too good. Same shit's gonna happen to his wife and child. So either way, he fucks up and
he probably has a plan that he didn't say anything about that's gonna keep them okay.
That's such a cop out.
I agree that's a cop out. I also think he's too emotional to think about that.
Exactly.
He just wants to see them again.
And the other thing is,
his motivations are good. His plan,
yeah,
I'm just not sold.
My brain goes to, even if he pulls them out, the Kingpin in that universe is then gonna get their own collider, pull them back, and it's just a tug of war, right?
And plus, they don't want to see him.
Yeah, they don't.
You see
That's
that
what you
struggle.
see in the
you
bus
see
thing.
that bus thing where they're like, he's like, come with me, and they're like, no, blah, blah. So you see that struggle, and then you see him go through that like emotional battle. So like he's also dealing with his own emotions while he's trying to solve this issue.
Yeah, but the thing that I think they did very well about the Kingpin is the fact that they had him kill Peter Parker.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes, especially to the younger audience, about Kingpin's legit.
Like his
Green Goblin never could kill Peter. Venom, assumably, and all the other rogues
could never
didn't do it. It was Kingpin.
A giant man.
Yeah, and the other thing
big buffy man.
was that Kingpin was the one who killed the Prowler. Kingpin is like the murderer of the film. The characters that die, and another thing, thank you, movie, for having the guts to kill characters.
Thank you. Because seriously, a lot of Marvel media has a hard time actually
Not
keeping
even
things
the
dead.
MCU. This movie had more balls than the MCU in that regard. But, I'll talk about that later, but the fact they had the balls to do it, and they had Kingpin be the one to pull the trigger and kill Prowler. I think it works very well with the villain, and it sets up the stakes for that fight between Miles and Kingpin, because you know Kingpin kills people. He could very well kill Miles in that fight.
Well, and Miles knows that too.
Yeah.
He's putting him. That's what he realizes, that now that he had officially became Spider-Man at that point, he had been willing to put his life on the line for his friends.
Spider-Man's not invincible, as set up early in the film, which also, something I thought of yesterday or the day before. This is a rough year for kids who are Spider-Man fans. They've seen him die twice this year in movies.
Exactly.
Like, Infinity War, it's like, oh my god, he's dead. And then they're like, well, at least there's this animated movie. He'll be fine there.
He died.
What?
He died an even worse death.
Yeah.
Tony, I don't feel so good.
Yeah, he wouldn't have time to say that. It would be, Tony, I don't feel so wham.
Tony, bam.
So,
You
like,
just hear gargling.
but I am so happy this movie has the balls to do it, in my opinion. This is a bit of a hot take. I haven't seen really many other people say this, but I like this movie better than I liked Homecoming as a Spider-Man.
Oh, definitely.
Like, Homecoming didn't feel like a Spider-Man film in the same way. It felt like the MCU working in Spider-Man. It felt like, because Spider-Man quite literally was an afterthought in the MCU.
Yeah.
It was them saying, like, here's our MCU universe, here's our Spider-Man. To the point where MJ wasn't MJ. Spider-Man, it wasn't a proper origin story. I like that it was him becoming Spider-Boy going to Spider-Man, but it was very much so tailored to the MCU.
Yeah.
This is unforgivably a Spider-Man film, unapologetically a Spider-Man film. And I love the message of anyone can be Spider-Man, because that's something I feel like no other movie was able to achieve. Like, again, Amazing Spider-Man 2. They tried with the kid in the Spider-Man costume. It did not land. This is how you do that.
Exactly.
But any other thoughts?
None that come to mind.
Alright, because I feel like I just talked a lot about Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
So, if there's nothing else to say, well then thank you for watching this Let's Talk Movies about Spider-Verse. And go see the movie. I assume you have, since we're talking about spoilers. But also in the comments below, let us know what you thought of Spider-Verse. And with that said, We'll see you next time.
Have a good one.
Yep, later.
Later.